we are just always chasing more, and we almost can never be legitimate. It's around courage, and it's around community as well. So having the support around you to give you that ability to be courageous, because I think confidence is a thing that comes with time, but the courage, that's the thing.
Welcome to How to Trust Yourself, the podcast for anyone who's done with the endless second guessing and ready to tune in to your inner guidance. I'm Anna Holtzman, and I get that feeling of trudging through life like you're wading through mud, trying to figure out which way to go. In my 20s, I spent more time asking what should I do with my life than writing about crushes or bad dates in my journal. I've tried on a lot of answers: architecture, publishing, editing reality TV for a decade, and finally landing on therapy and coaching, helping people like you connect with your purpose. But here's the thing I've learned through all those twists and turns. Trusting yourself is the key to moving forward, even when the path feels messy. So if you're ready to stop doubting yourself and start listening to your gut, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back, dear listener. Today's episode is with someone who brings together creativity, business, and nervous system wisdom in a way that feels so relatable and refreshingly real. Ros Gervay, modern botanical artist, creative entrepreneur, mentor, and host of the Paint, Rest, Repeat podcast. Ros's artwork is represented in 3 galleries across Australia. She's exhibited at major art fairs, was a finalist in the 2022 Art to Art Unearthed Art Prize, and she leads multiple programs for emerging artists, including Permission to Paint, Art for the Heart, and the Thrive Mastermind. Her mission is simple and powerful: to help artists stop playing small and build sustainable, values-led creative lives. Her own journey, including discovering her neurodivergent strengths and learning to work with her capacity instead of against it, is part of what fuels her work with the artists she mentors. If you're someone who loves your creative work but worries about overwhelm, burnout, or the emotional load that comes with putting your art out into the world, this conversation will feel like a deep exhale. Ros, thank you so much for making this time, first of all. We're on very different time zones, so kudos to both of us for making this work. And I'm so happy to finally get to meet up face to face and have a conversation. Thanks for being here.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, Anna. We just seem to have this really natural connection. So it's very special to be here. I'm excited about chatting to you as well.
Yeah. I'll just briefly say, before we started recording, we were talking about how we met each other on Instagram. Just have sent a few DMs back and forth, listened to a little bit of each other's stuff. And it's just, we both feel this energy of connection. It's just so interesting how that can happen.
I think it's, your area of work really aligns with what I do and my mission and my values as well. So there's that piece in there. Yeah.
Yes. And there's multiple points of crossover between well-being and creativity. So we're going to get into that. But before we go too far and folks are like, but orient us, please. I will have introduced you prior to our conversation playing, but in your own words, could you share a little bit about what you do and who you help?
Yeah, definitely. So I have a multifaceted business, and I'm a multifaceted person, as we all are. But my 2 main roles are as a modern botanical artist and also a business coach for new and rising artists. So it's, I like variety in my life. And so that's why I do quite a few different things, but it's really a very rewarding area to be in, both for myself on my, in terms of my art practice, but also being able to help other people as well through my coaching side of things. So the creatives and the artists that I mainly help, they are new and rising, as I mentioned. So they're in that emerging space. And also they tend to be really heart-centered, authentic, sort of, what do you call it? Very holistic sorts of humans. I think
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, this is why we this is why we connected. Yes.
100%. And it is funny actually in business, but in the world generally, we tend to attract certain types of people, and they're the people I attract,
Yeah.
and they're the people that I love to serve and to help on their journey.
Yes. It's Yeah, I'm just pausing again to I'm just really fascinated with this whole attraction thing. I mean, there's this, people talk about the law of attraction, and some people are really attracted to that term, and other people are quite repulsed by that term, and no judgment either way. But I am really fascinated by how we do attract one another with our, you know, whatever you want to call it, our energy, our vibes, our topics that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
yeah,
it's got to come down to that authenticity piece. I think if you're
yeah,
operating in a way that is authentic to who you are, I think energetically that just calls in other people who are on the same sort of wavelength. Not to get too
absolutely.
hippie, but it's a
No, it
thing.
does. It does. I'm like pausing because I myself struggle a little bit with these terms. It's like part of me is really into them, the law of attraction and the vibes and all this stuff. And then there's another part of me that kind of has an ick to all of it. But I'm not sure what other language to use. And it absolutely speaks to me, these concepts. Um, and Okay. So, in as much or as little detail as you'd like to share with us, how did you come to all this, multifaceted work that you're doing as an artist, as a coach? This is for most people not necessarily a straightforward path. And I'm curious for you what your personal journey has been to get here.
I love this one because I did have a heads up that you might ask a question like this. And I was chatting to my husband before our chat today and thinking, how do I answer this? I always struggle with this question because I have done, a number of things and I want to give you the full details from start to finish.
Yeah.
But, we don't have hours, do we? And
I wish we did. I honestly wish we did.
Did we do it? Okay. So
Yeah.
once upon a time, Anna. No, so to cut to the chase a little bit, I did my formal training in design many moons ago. I started out in interior design studios and eventually ended up in the corporate sort of a space. So doing design management for one of the big banks here. So in-house interior design, essentially. And I had I was challenged by that because their values, like in summary, their values didn't align with mine. And so I felt eventually I felt quite uncomfortable in that environment. I guess I didn't feel like I was serving, the purpose that I was meant to. It wasn't aligned with the impact that I wanted to have. I just knew I was quite young, but I just knew that it wasn't sitting quite right for me personally. And so I decided to
just hear, by the way, if it's okay if I interrupt briefly, I can just hear in my mind like so many listeners going ping, 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 ping. I felt that too. Maybe I'm feeling it right now. Like I think we have all felt that at least in some area or at some stage of our professional life. And I think for a lot of people, it's maybe even the majority of their professional life.
Yeah, and I think it's quite easy just to basically sweep it under the rug and just continue down the normal path,
Well, it's kind of normalized to feel misaligned, right?
Yeah, 100%. And we naturally disconnect as well from our own heart and our own sort of sense of what's important to us. So I was glad though, somehow I had that realization and I knew something had to change. So I went through, my husband actually reminded me of this book I read. I think I have to look it up. It was like The Rainbow Parachute.
What color is your parachute?
Yes,
is it that
that's
one?
the one.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that I had read that. So I went through that to try to find out what direction I needed to go in. And at that point, I actually ended up studying primary teaching because essentially I wanted to be in service. I wanted to do charity work full time essentially and be paid for it so that I could pay my bills, right? So
For my largely American audience, primary teaching, is that elementary?
Oh,
Would that be
yes,
elementary school teaching in
that's
my
right.
lexicon?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, that's
No, no,
correct.
please. I mean, please. It's my
So
my
they're
ignorance.
5 to 12 years old. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that's the same for you.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Something roughly
That
there.
sounds right. Yeah.
So I went into primary teaching, and that was largely great. That really worked for me because I knew I was having an impact. I was helping,
Yeah.
newer humans, whatever that is. You know
Yeah.
what I mean. So newer humans, and we're helping them to find their place, to be their best selves, to open their mind to learning and believing in themselves as well, especially when they were covering something that was a bit more difficult for them. So
Yeah.
that was great. But then, like all of us, we had the whole COVID situation.
Yeah.
I had my own children. My eldest got diagnosed with ADHD. She was
Hmm.
starting school. I felt a need for more autonomy. Rather than working in the education system, which was great in many ways, but it also there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy and all of that.
Yeah.
And so it basically ended up being a natural window, almost like a portal, like a gap in time for me to
Right.
reassess what I wanted to do. And, we change as well when we have kids. There was
Yeah.
that piece as well. So that's when I started to dive back into art and creativity, which I also knew was missing. I needed to reconnect with
Yeah.
that again. And then, off I went on that journey, and I'm still on that path today.
Wow. Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, just the kind of like going away and then coming back, but in a new way, in a way that's more aligned for you, is something that in my own fashion I can sort of relate to. Um, and so you have a podcast as well.
I do.
And what our episodes probably won't come out right at the same time, I'm guessing, but as we're recording right now on my podcast, and then we're about to swap roles and record on yours. So your podcast is called Paint, Rest, Repeat. And when I found you and your podcast, I was like, oh, I will really relate to this person. That just the name of the podcast itself says a lot to me. I'd love to hear you talk about what is the story behind the name? What does it mean? And it's a podcast that's business coaching for artists. So, to me it makes a lot of sense that the word rest is right there in the middle. But what is that doing there in business coaching for artists?
Yeah, I love that, Anna. So for us, with the podcast, I'm now actually hosting the podcast solo, but
Right.
we used to have Laura Jane Day on there as my podcast co-host. She's taken, a step away for various reasons. We're still best friends, all fine.
Yeah.
But the name actually originated way back at the start of the podcast when Laura and I started it up. So Laura actually has a chronic health condition, and I won't, say too much. I'm sure she wouldn't mind
Yeah.
anyway. But the rest piece came in there primarily from her angle because of having limited energy. And so needing to do the thing that you love, the painting and all of that side of things, but then having that rest in between. So that's the history of the name of the podcast. But also for me, it acts as a reminder to rest because I am like a energizer bunny. I go, go, go. I have 5 million ideas, multiple projects on the go at any one time. So it's also a fabulous little grounding place for me as well. Just remember, it's okay,
Yeah.
Ros. You're allowed to go slow for periods of time. You can have a breather and then come back. So it's a constant balancing act.
Yeah. So interesting to me. And one of the things we were talking about before recording is like we've explored some of each other's world, but we haven't had a conversation yet. There's lots we don't know about each other. So you may or may not know that my podcast originally was called From Chronic Pain to Passion.
Oh,
That's how this podcast started out, and then it morphed. But so I have a background as a creative. For many years I worked in media and I actually studied architecture, funny enough, when I was in college, and then did writing about design and then worked in TV for many years. I also have a background that came after that as a chronic pain therapist. And many of my listeners live in like the intersection of those worlds, like many creatives who also, um, are navigating various kinds of chronic issues. And a challenge that I hear a lot from the folks in my world is I want to pursue my creative passion, but I'm worried that I'll get overwhelmed. I'm worried it'll trigger a stress reaction. Sometimes that has to do with symptoms. Um, and I wanted to ask you, how do you balance your creativity, your business, and your well-being? Is this something that you see in the folks you coach? Like, what does that look like? Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. It's a great question. And it's a question that I think will never actually go away. I think often we think that we're going to find the answer, the one thing that's going to help us
totally.
with this. And then we shall be fixed and this shall
The
never be
magic
a problem.
pill.
I know. I think we think like that initially, or we can, but I think the reality is that it is a constant balancing act. And it's not that we're chasing the perfect balance, because I don't think it exists, but it's just this keeping in check with ourselves,
Yeah,
and doing those check-ins and just checking, like, are we living this life, in a way that's aligned with our values, which means balancing all those different areas. And for me, a big one at the moment is I haven't been spending enough time with my children, but I have this awareness. And so now I'm going to be regrouping, and it's already in progress, to make sure that I'm spending the time I want to spend with them. So it's just this
yeah,
constant checking back in. And I think it's the same with what you're mentioning in terms of the stress reaction and that piece of things, and the overwhelm as well. Just checking back in and knowing that you can do all these things that you want to do, but it's okay to do them slowly and gently and with self-respect, if
yeah.
that's the right word. Yeah.
I think, just hearing you say it's okay to do them slowly, like, even though this is something that I coach people on, and I talk about it all the time. Like you said, I haven't taken the magic pill, and I'm talking about it and making it the focus of my work because it's a personal focus and it's an ongoing exploration. And just hearing you say that you can do it, you can do all these things, but you could do it slowly. It's kind of funny because I coach on this stuff, but just hearing that was like, oh, you can do it slowly? Because that's still a story that I navigate myself, is like, is slowing down stopping? This kind of like all or nothing, black and white thinking, where slowing down to my like all or nothing part of my nervous system smells a little bit like completely stopping. And so
I
there's
know.
like a fear of slowing down, right?
I know what you're talking about exactly, 100%. And I'm not sure really where that originates. Like, is that in society? Is that how we've all been, raised?
Yeah.
Or is it in, the way our brain operates, for people who have ADHD or something like
Yes.
that? Like, where does it come from? Or, Anna, is
Yeah.
it from this hard work? Like, you're not worth anything unless you're working hard. And then even if you're working hard, are you working hard enough? and,
Totally.
and I feel it all the time. So again, coming back to that point, is it's a constant attempt to rebalance. It's
It
not
really
that
is.
we're going to land in this magical happy place. It's just this constant regrouping.
It really is. And it's an interesting question, like, is it our nervous systems? Is it society? And it's funny, I for a long time have talked about, our societal programming and all this stuff, and I probably still talk about that. But just in this moment, I'm thinking, but society is created by us, it's created by people. And so it's also intertwined. I don't think we can really untangle all of that. Um, What are some of the common struggles or challenges that folks come to you with for coaching and mentorship? Like, what are some of the most common knots that people come to you hoping to loosen up a bit, and how do you help them through?
I love that. What are the common knots? I get a lot of the time, I'm not an artist, or I'm not a real artist.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just a hobbyist, or I'm just creative, or I just like to dabble in painting. So that difficulty around claiming the identity, because I think a lot of us, I don't know, hold that word artist up on a pedestal, or for whatever reason, and it's probably because that's society as well. We've
Yeah.
been told to pop that up there. It's unachievable. We can't be that. Okay, so that's a really
Yeah.
big one. I'm not a real artist. There's also related to what you do as well, this fear of judgment and the fear
Oh, yeah.
about um, it's really related to I'm not good enough to show my work. And what will
Mm.
happen what will they say if I share my work on social media? Or if I
Yeah.
try a completely different style of art, will I be judged? Will I be seen as less than who I was before? Or how is that going to be perceived? They're two of the biggest ones that I hear in terms of the knots.
Yeah. 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 I mean, imposter syndrome is like one way to describe this, right? And as I was listening to you, a memory floated up for me when I was working in film and television, and I was working as an editor in reality TV. That was how I made money. But my real aspiration was to be a film director, and I would periodically take like breaks between gigs, and I would make my own films. And I was in a little bit in the place you're describing of feeling like, well, yeah, I've made a few films, but um, you know, they haven't been distributed. And so like, can I really call myself a director? That sort of thing. And I remember sitting next to a friend of a friend at some screening, and he had just, pardon me, he had directed a film that got into some really major festivals. And it was like, I think in the eyes of everyone around him, a real marker of success, certainly in my eyes. And I asked him something, looking back, that was very naive. Something like, essentially I was asking him, how does it feel now that you've made it, in so many words? And he just spilled out like all the same insecurities that I was feeling, but just, at the stage that he had arrived at. It was like, well, I haven't done this, that, and the other. Um, how do you support people through this very human experience? And how do you help them to claim the identity of artist in whatever way that might look like for them?
Firstly, I just want to say I just got goosebumps as you were telling that story, because I think we're just always chasing more, and we almost can never be legitimate, almost. This
Absolutely. I mean,
it's
you hear celebrities, and why is that even kind of the marker that we go to, or I go to? But we do hear celebrities tell story. Those who are open tell stories about imposter syndrome and comparison and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's this drive. Is it a drive, innate human drive to be more, to be better? Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. So I just had to share that. You gave me goosebumps. But
Yeah.
how do I help people with this particular mission out in these sorts of blocks and these knots? I love that. I'm stealing that, the knots.
Love
It's
it.
really around the courage. It's around courage, and it's around community as well. So
Yeah.
having the support around you to give you that ability to be courageous. Because I think confidence, for example, I don't know, confidence is a thing that comes with time, I suppose. However, we were just talking about always chasing more. But anyway,
Yeah.
but the courageous and the courage, that's the thing. So the courage to dip your toe in, and even to say that I'm working towards being an artist. If that's your first step in saying
Yeah.
I am an artist, that's fine. Baby steps in the direction that you want to go. So I'm working towards, or I'm learning how to paint because I want to be an artist, or I'm a casual artist, or I'm a whatever it is, but moving in that direction and having that courage, finding that courage to say that to someone else, really, someone other
Yes.
than your own mind.
And I mean, tell me if you relate to this, whether it's personally or what you see with clients or students. But I find that taking that step, like oftentimes there's so much leading up to it, so much fear and anticipation and just kind of like this compression of energy. And then the step itself is usually, it's like a moment. It's saying something out loud to someone. And on the other side of it, the way I describe my experience of this, when I have experienced this, there's like a recalibration of my molecular structure feels like it's happening.
I love that example or that image that you've painted. Yes, I see what you mean.
And then like there's so much more on the other side of it than, you know, like a little step. A little step, it could look little on paper and just usher up like a huge amount of fear in leading up to it. And also the change that takes place can also be much bigger than the step itself. Do you
And
find that?
yeah, definitely. And then it opens up a whole
Yeah.
new world because it's, if I can do that, what else
Yeah.
can I do? It's all these
Yeah.
possibilities just start to open up. And I think, when you are someone like probably most of your listeners, definitely most of my listeners on my podcast, when you are someone who is just so used to playing small because you're, raised to be quiet or raised not to voice your opinion or not to disagree or whatever it is. When you were raised like that, it's very, very scary to step out.
Yes.
But when you do, and like you're saying, just those little the toe dipping sort of stepping out sort of situations, you realize, oh, actually it's okay. It's actually okay to be doing this. I'm okay. I'm still standing. I'm still alive. Nobody thought negatively of me. We're all good to go. What else can I do and achieve now?
Yeah, absolutely. And it really I think the fears can be specific sometimes. Like there could be like a specific phobia of visibility, but even if they're not so specific and they're more generalized, it is kind of like this is a I don't know why this example comes to my mind, but when I live in New York City and it's very trafficy, busy streets, and sometimes when you're crossing the street, a bicycle or a motorcycle will whip around the corner, and um, of course accidents happen, but generally like they know how to avoid the pedestrians. But I had an experience a long time ago, and it wasn't terribly dramatic, where a bicycle hit me. It wasn't going very fast. I was not injured, but like it was jarring and upsetting and shocking. And I don't think about it much at all. But when I'm crossing the street, if a bicycle is coming around, my whole body like locks and freezes and like it's like feels like a lightning bolt is going through me. So there's this physiological response that isn't necessarily connected to anything I'm consciously thinking. And I think I'm sharing this story because I feel like it's a metaphor for what happens for a lot of us with the fears of putting ourselves out there, of saying out loud, I'm an artist. There's kind of something going on that's, whether you want to call it subconscious or it's on a nervous system level, that can feel really intense, even if we're not fully aware of it.
I can see that as well. It's almost the who am I to claim
Yeah.
this space? Who am I to claim a space?
And is it safe for me to claim a space?
100%. It's a big thing. Yeah, it gives me the goosebumps as well. It's just it's a big area, and that's why what you do is I think really, really amazing. Working in this visibility space for all sorts of people, not just creatives, but it's amazing, this work you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think the work you do is amazing. And I wanted to ask you about is there a story or two about, without breaching anyone's confidentiality, that you could share, like a transformation that you've seen in someone you've worked with?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, I have a few different coaching sort of programs, but the one that comes to mind when you're asking this question is my Thrive Mastermind. So it's a smaller group program. So I get to, it's a bit more high touch. So I get to get quite
Yeah.
close to my members and really stay with them on their journey. And so, yeah, there are a couple of artists in there who really come to mind. So we've got Deb Baker in there, who's amazing. She's based here in Australia as well. And she's just gone from strength to strength. You know, she actually joined the program as what we call, I don't know if you use this term, but as a technophobe. Have you heard that?
Yeah, like someone who's afraid to like do things on the computer, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And that
Yeah.
was how she would call herself. That was her little title for herself. And she hated doing anything on her website, hated doing any sort of email marketing, anything around that. And she's gone so well. We've worked together now for, I think it's around 12 months now. And she has got the most beautiful website that is selling her work. She's got her work up in a local cafe space as well. She's doing launches through her email marketing. And it's around this identity shift, but also, as you're saying, this fear of visibility sort of taking the back seat. Let's just say, because it doesn't disappear, right? I don't believe it disappears, but just
It's no longer driving, is what I'm
exactly.
hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so all of these things start to open up when you have that skill or that ability and that support and community behind you as well to put that to the side. So yeah, she's doing amazingly.
How, like, if I were to ask, how is she feeling? What's your best guess from what
Yeah,
you hear from
I
her?
should ask her. I should give her a buzz and ask her. No,
Yeah.
I would say she's feeling really confident in who she is as an artist and really excited as well about all the things that are going to follow after this point in time. Very, very positive and confident and really impressed with herself, I would say, from my conversations with her, because she's overcome a lot on the mindset side of things. And she's shown herself that she can do the things that she wants to do and that she needs to do as well to grow her art business.
I feel just like uplifted just hearing about this. I think that's what we all want, is just that feeling of that there's something that we've really wanted, but it's scary. And so we've held ourselves back, and then just finally stepping forward, feeling so proud of ourselves. It's an amazing feeling.
It's a big thing, isn't it? And it's that allowing yourself to dream as well. I think that's a big, well, that's the first part of the process, really, like allowing yourself to dream and then believing that it is achievable for you. And then, seeking out methods and, that community piece as well to make that happen.
Yeah. I love hearing about that. We're coming to the time in our conversation where I'm going to bring us into the final three questions that I like to ask every guest. And the first of those is, if there is a soapbox message like a phrase in for Australians too?
Yes. Yeah.
So if there is a soapbox message that's sort of embedded into everything you do, all the work you do, your sort of vision of the world at this point in your path, what would that message be?
For me, it's definitely the courage before confidence piece.
Yeah.
Finding that courage and working out what you need in order to find that courage. And community, as I mentioned, is a very big one. Believing there is people to support you and your dreams and to see the best parts of you and your potential as well. But courage before confidence would be my biggest message.
Yeah, I love that. And it's, I think this is something that comes up in the work of anyone that does any kind of coaching. And as we've been talking about, I still, I look to my coaches to remind me of this. That it's like, oh, let me just like prepare and prepare and prepare until I feel confident. And it's like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to feel uncomfortable before getting to that feeling of confidence. You're going to have to take that courageous step, and it's okay because other people are doing it too, and it's human.
Oh, and you're doing amazing things, Anna.
So are you.
Keep going.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm getting a little coaching session for myself right now. Um, for the listener who is hearing our conversation at this moment in their listening, um, and they're picking up some of what you're putting down. They're thinking, gosh, yeah, maybe I don't have to have the confidence yet in order to take that next step. Um, Perhaps they're even thinking of joining one of your programs. So they're thinking of taking action, but they're also maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed, fearful, confused, like what even is the right first step? And is it even worth taking a first step if there's like such a big mountain to climb? What words of encouragement would you offer that person?
Really, it is that, it's going to sound so cliche, but I mean it, but that anything is possible. So when you've got the right people behind you supporting you, it might just be one or two people. It could be, I don't know, your whole family or a local artist network, but people behind you to support you in your dreams. It is actually possible. I think about the story of, I think it was, it's across different animals, but say you have a fish in a fish tank, it's only going to grow as large as it's allowed to grow in that tank. But you pop it in a bigger tank. I think I saw a carp video on YouTube about this recently. Anyway, strange things we watch on YouTube. And and it grew and grew and grew. And this tiny little baby thing that the owner did not know could grow this big kept on growing because the owner kept on giving it a larger and larger and larger tank. And I think I just would love people to take away today that so much more is possible if we allow ourselves to dream of that, allow ourselves to imagine that, and to just take those steps in in your right direction, the direction that you want to go. Just little steps in that direction, and it's amazing. We only have this one time on this planet. So now is the time to try the thing, and try it on for size, see how it feels. And if it feels good, take the next step and on you go. It's very exciting. The world's an exciting place.
It is. And what I'm also hearing and what you're sharing is like, put yourself in an environment, in a fish tank, if you will, or a pond or whatever, where there's like a supportive community of fish that encourages and allows you to expand into what you're meant to expand into.
Absolutely, 100%. And I actually do have a free Facebook community that does that. So completely free. But like you're saying, this community of people that support you to become what you want to become. And that's why for me, for example, in this particular group, I manage it very, very carefully with my moderators in there to ensure it's a safe space. And I have asked people I've thrown people out of the group essentially because they weren't behaving in alignment with the space that I wanted to create. And that's really important to me. So that safe space where you can take risks, you can be the artist you want to be and see how it's perceived, see how it lands without being fearful that you're going to be, I don't know, whatever we imagine is going to happen.
Having a safe experience of it so that your nervous system doesn't react like, my body when a bicycle goes by, but it reacts like something that has felt good in the past, has felt welcome in the past, and you want to do more of it. That brings us right into the last of my 3 questions, which is, where can people find you, learn more about you and your work, and what's the best way for them to dip their toe in the water and get a taste of it?
Yeah, definitely. So lots of different avenues. Instagram's my favorite place to hang out. So I'm there as Ros Gervay Art, but also I do have that free Facebook community. It's called Permission to Paint. If you just search that up on Facebook, and I have a lot of free resources as well for artists to go and dive on in. And that's at my website, permissiontopaint.co/resources.
Beautiful. We have a couple of more minutes than I thought we might have. And I do want to throw in this last question, which is, what is lighting you up the most in all of the diverse work that you do right now?
For me, it is helping artists to shift those limiting beliefs and to prove to themselves what they can achieve. And that does happen primarily for me through my Thrive mastermind, because that's where I have that closer level of contact. That's what really, 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 really lights me up. And it's working with women, usually heart-centered, wholehearted, beautiful, gorgeous women with these amazing values that are just trying to do something that they want to do in this world, and giving them the support they need and helping them to find that self-belief to actually follow through and take the steps towards their dreams and their wishes is just incredibly rewarding. That's what I was born to do, I think.
I'm just like, yes. What could it possibly be better than that? Ros, thank you so much for being here. I'm just so thrilled that the algorithms have somehow brought us into each other's world. It's total pleasure getting to chat with you, and I hope we'll do it again.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna. It was lots of fun to chat and connect, get to know you better as well.
Thanks. Take care. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do me a favor. Hit that follow button so you don't miss a thing, and leave a rating or review. It helps more people find this show, and honestly, it makes my day. And if you're looking for more ways to trust yourself and start listening to that gut instinct of yours, come hang out with me on Instagram at Anna_Holtzman. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, trust yourself. You've got this.